All right, thanks. Pretty interesting conversation ahead of us today about digital transformation and what it means to society and what we can do to really drive towards true ESG activation. So today I've got some industry experts just to have a conversation about digital transformation. There are lots of stories around digital transformation, and those stories can shine a light on what's really happening as we drive to that, what I describe, that crossover between digital transformation and ESG activation. So Tony, you and your team architect for digital transformation every day with our customers. What's happening in the world of digital transformation and what does it mean?
Thanks, Andy. Digital transformation is a huge subject. Pre-pandemic, our customers were largely on a journey to the cloud, and if not, then during the pandemic, they rapidly began that journey. So now with the prevalence of cloud-based services, third-party access, office and remote worker access, networks are no longer limited to the offices and data centres. They're now more distributed, making the attack surface for threat actors so much larger than before.
Frank, what's happening on the Hitachi side?
I would say we are in the second or third generation of engagement in digital transformation, right? The first was purely about cost, right? Then it evolved into how do I make sure that I'm future-proofing my architecture and I'm future-proofing my systems, not just within my network, but also interfaces that I have externally. The third generation now that we are in today, as we look at it, to say, how do I use the massive amounts of data and that I have within my organization? How do I use that to drive efficiency, safety, and also additional revenue streams? Right? So from being a cost arbitrage conversation to future-proofing IT technology to now saying, how can we jointly partner with you to drive transformation within our organization, both from an efficiency perspective and also an innovation? I would say that's the journey that we as service providers have taken along with our customers. And we've taken a long time. Right? We have to establish the trust, earn the respect, and then be able to bring the right solutions to our customers to be able to drive this transformation.
Yeah, wow. When we think about digital transformation, I think we'll all agree is it's not a point in time, but essentially once you start the digital transformation, it's a constant journey.
I think what just been described, in my view, is exactly that journey. Cost, security. Security is such an important part and very precious. People won't give something away unless they can see that there is a secure platform that is well respected, trusted, and operates. Take the next step, exactly where you've gone, then you can start to see that this silo and this silo can actually better interact together or even be designed in an architecture sense to be one of the same. So all of a sudden you might have industries of water and energy and agriculture that have lived apart for all of those reasons, for cost and security, and they're all full of data, but really the strength is the sharing of that data and to be integrated information, integrated systems, so the architecture changes. That's when you get greater outcomes.
So as we mature in the digital transformation journey and we strive to reach that nexus of ESG activation, one of the technologies that's really stood out post the pandemic is a massive proliferation of artificial intelligence, but it's been around for a long time, right? For us, it's been about taking as much data as we can over time and distilling it in a way so that we can service our customers in a really intelligent way. That leads to us resolving tickets artificially 95% of the time. It's quite amazing, no human touch. And I would say this, we need to really educate ourselves in how to ask questions. If we ask questions that have never been asked before, we can solve the riddles of tomorrow because we have the technology to do that. So Frank and Patrick, what sort of questions are customers asking you to solve the riddles when it comes to industry solutions and advancing society?
Some of the questions that we've been asked by our customers are three different categories, really, right? First category is around productivity improvements, right? Because a lot of customers want to make sure that they're leveraging the latest technologies to drive productivity, to drive efficiency, and that results in bottom line savings for them, right? The second category where digital transformation is being employed is to say, are there revenue streams that I can generate that I did not have today, right? And a lot of it comes down to data. Customers have so much data that they have the potential to monetize the data that they have, both internally and externally. So they're identifying newer revenue streams. And the third category, if you will, is to look at safety. And for us, safety is paramount. So how do we leverage latest capabilities in AGVs, in LiDAR, in camera, in video to keep our people safe and to care for their well-being, right? So these are three different categories in which we see both the need from our own businesses, but also from our customers.
The reason that we're together, Andy, is because of the sourcing advisor world, right? When we're educating the different groups, the analysts, the advisors, their questions have changed because the end user questions have changed, just as Frank described. So the questions of how many people and what location and how many times did you do it, and these questions that usually have driven commodity services certainly elevated themselves to levels of tech enablement and innovation and co-creation, right, and co-investment. So these questions that are, how do we solve the problem, are being asked all throughout the market. And as a provider, if you're not prepared to answer that either at your own account level or from the market itself, you're going to be left behind. And again, I think that's a great reason why Hitachi, Vantara, and Verizon have sat down, because we know how to ask, and I think we know how to answer them as well.
So let's talk about the building blocks then. Artificial intelligence is mature, global networks and security is merged. There's lots of technology.
When we look at industry solutions, we look at the end state in mind, which is scaled, deployable solutions that are driving value for the customer. Your architecture has to balance between providing the reliability, safety, and security, and the interoperability that is required in the existing infrastructure, in the existing network. The second building block then becomes at the data level, and how reliable is your data. The third layer is the domain expertise. What specific industry problems are we solving for? And therefore, the domain expertise that is required to solve those problems. And finally, the context of a specific application. Right? Those are the building block layers that I would talk about. The security of the infrastructure, the reliability of infrastructure, the reliability of the data, the domain expertise, and the user interface that needs to make it relevant for a customer.
So Craig, if you have Hitachi and Verizon working for you and you're building a community resilience, right, what are the other building blocks? What are we missing here?
Well, it goes back, you use in an industry sense the client, but it's what the community needs. Mm-hmm. So it's a community-driven thing. What is the need out there? So that's one. Two is accessibility and trust of the systems. But the one that I think is important that industry brings into the thing that the community can't do is innovation.
It goes to show, here we have come along that whole journey. Cost, technology maturity is now leading to trust. And once we have that, innovation, such as industry solutions, which we talked about as being the crossover to being able to truly drive ESG into an actionable state where we meet our sustainability targets, our social responsibility, and the governance that wraps around that is actually upon us.
Absolutely. And the beauty of industry solutions is that it accelerates digital transformation and the problem solving for our customers by an order of magnitude. You don't have to factor in infrastructure, security, authorization, authentication, and then start building these applications, because you have all of that pre-built, tested, deployed, and all of that is the trust that we were speaking about. It comes with a level of trust that all of these aspects that are crucial taken care of. And the effort that we're doing is purely in making it contextual to that specific customer scenario.
There we have it. It's clear. Vast ecosystems are coming together because we can create secure, intelligent networks. Stay tuned for the next podcast on driving innovation and mitigating risk.